Human immunodeficiency virus is an autoimmune disease that originated in Africa. HIV was contracted by apes and monkeys and was discovered by Robert Gallo, Luc Montagnier, and Jay Levy. The virus attacks the body's immune system and destroys cells that are able to fight off infections and diseases. HIV attacks CD4 cells within the immune system, also known as T cells. CD4 cells are types of white blood cells that help to combat infection. When the virus is present, CD4 cells are depleted and destroyed rapidly.
HIV can be transmitted in several different ways. The most common form of transmission occurs when an HIV positive person has intercourse with an HIV negative person. When blood or other bodily fluids come in contact with the mucous membrane, such as those involved in intercourse, HIV is transmitted from one person to another. Another form of transmission occurs when a needle is shared between two individuals, one being HIV positive. The third form of transmission is mother to child. This can occur when the mother gives birth or even during breastfeeding. There are other less common forms of transmission that can include but are not limited to oral sex, blood transfusion, and contact between open wounds or broken skin. Some common misconceptions about HIV are that it cannot be spread through kissing, hugging, or even sharing toilets like many people tend to fear. HIV is divided into three distinct phases, each with its own symptoms. The first is acute HIV infection, which occurs between weeks 2 to 4 after the initial infection. Symptoms normally associated with the first stage of HIV resemble the flu and include fever, chills, fatigue, and muscle soreness. Stage 2 in the HIV phase is clinical latency. Clinical latency is the dormancy of the virus. The virus is still active, but at lower levels than in the first stage where symptoms may not occur. Stage 2 then progresses into Stage 3, which is autoimmunodeficiency syndrome, better known as AIDS. AIDS is the most severe form of the human immunodeficiency virus and is diagnosed when a person's CD4 cell count drops below 220 cells per millimeter. At this part in the HIV infection, the immune system has become so compromised that they begin to develop multiple other severe illnesses that can prove to be fatal. Symptoms of AIDS can include, but are not limited to, weight loss, fever, sores, and swollen lymph nodes.
There are about 4 main groups of antiretrovirals that are used to prevent HIV from working properly. Typically, therapy involves taking 2 to 3 of the medications at the same time in order to combat resistance. Each drug works to prevent a specific step in replication. Nucleoside reverse transcriptase inhibitors, or NRTIs, create a decoy nucleoside to inhibit the attachment of another nucleoside, which ultimately prevents viral DNA to be built. Non-nucleoside reverse transcriptase, NNRTIs, inhibits the enzyme that turns viral RNA to viral DNA. Integrase inhibitors stop viral integrase, an enzyme that brings the double-stranded viral DNA into the nucleus, integrates rDNA. Protease inhibitors bind onto viral protease in order to inhibit the enzyme from creating mature and infectious cells.
It's important to note that 1 out of every 25 adults are infected with HIV, with 5,000 new cases being diagnosed every day. 36.9 million people are affected by HIV globally, with 25.7 million of these cases in Africa. This may seem like a large number, but 1 in 7 people don't even know they have it. California has reported the largest amount of cases in the U.S. Also, men are most affected by HIV, with gay and bisexual men accounting for 67% of the 81% of men infected.